For the Bitcoin and crypto market, the upcoming week promises to be a pivotal one. While the U.S. Consumer Price Index, Jobless Claims, Producer Price Index, and Michigan Consumer Sentiment are all on the horizon, three events stand out as particularly the July release of the CPI and PPI data, as well as the much-anticipated Bitcoin ETF decision for ARK Invest. The CPI, a key measure of inflation, has been under the microscope as the U.S. grapples with fluctuating inflation rates. The headline CPI is expected to rise from 3% to 3.3% year-wide in July. A notable shift as beneficial base effects from the previous year begin to fade. The Cleveland Fed's inflation nowcast model even forecasts a 3.42% headline CPI, slightly above the consensus. That after the Federal Reserve raised interest rates another 25 basis points in July, 84.5% of the market currently assumes there will be no further rate hikes at the next 5C in September, according to the CME FedWatch tool. However, a reacceleration in inflation data could turn expectations entirely around. Remarkably, there will be two CPI data of the next FOMC meeting from September 19th, 20. If both times inflation picks up after peaking in 9.1% in 13 consecutive months, with a drop in headline CPI, this will be a worst-case scenario for the financial markets. A special focus will be on core CPI, which excludes volatile food and energy prices. With last month's figure at 4.8%, predictions for July hint at a slight deceleration to 4.7%. However, with oil prices surging, as pointed out by Peter Schiff's recent tweet, highlighting its potential impact on CPI, the path of inflation remains uncertain. Schiff remarked on Twitter, and oil closed the week above $82, the sixth consecutive weekly gain. The price is now up 30% from the May low. Momentum is building, and the oil price will likely exceed $100 soon. This will put upward pressure on the CPI, pushing the Fed further away from its 2% inflation target. A rise in CPI could signal to the Federal Reserve that further interest rate hikes may be necessary, a move that could have ripple effects across the Bitcoin and crypto market. And the PPI, which measures the average change in selling prices received by domestic producers for their output, is often seen as a leading indicator for the CPI. Last month's PPI YoY was a mere 0.1%. YoY teetering on the brink of negative territory. However, forecasts for July suggest a rebound to 0.7%. On a monthly basis, the PPI rose 0.1% in June, and as 6 people for American rose 2% and was expected to rise again by 0.2% in July. A rising PPI could foreshadow reaccelerating CPI data as producers are passing on increased costs to consumers, potentially leading to a subsequent rise in the CPI. For the Bitcoin and crypto market, a higher than expected PPI could stoke fears of a second wave of inflation influencing investors' sentiment and strategies. One of the biggest catalysts for the market could undoubtedly be the approval of a Bitcoin spot ETF, and the race for a Bitcoin spot ETF is slowly heating up, at least in terms of deadlines. Cathie Wood's ARK Invest is the first to get a decision, while BlackRock, Fidelity, Invesco, and the other financial giants wait for an initial response from the SEC. ARK Invest is already one step ahead. The U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission has already delayed ARK's filing once. On Sunday, August 13th, the SEC's second deadline expires. The SEC must decide whether to approve the application, reject it, or extend the review period again. In total, the SEC can do this 4 times for a total of 240 days. The majority of experts assume that the SEC will again push back ARK's application However, given the new tones of SEC Chairman Gensler, a surprise cannot be ruled out. Late Friday evening could therefore hold some huge news. However, if the SEC postpones the ARK filing, Bitwise would be next on September 1st before the first deadline for the BlackRock, VanEck, Wisdom Tree, Invesco, and Fidelity on September 2nd. At press time, the Bitcoin price stood at $29,079.